Hello, everybody. My name is Axel Eberman. I'm the Public Relations Chair of the New York Coalition for Open Government. We are a nonprofit, nonpartisan, all-volunteer organization, and we are advocating for transparent and accountable government in New York State. Paul Wolf, our president, who's usually hosting our Friday Facebook Live sessions, currently traveling. So we brought a special guest on, and that is one of the fantastic things about our organization. We are member-based, and we are all volunteers, and we are from all over New York State. And so we can bring a lot of people with different experiences and knowledge. And today we have Mike Franklin. Mike Franklin is a member of our organization, a very always passionate and super smart guy. And just as an introduction, currently one of the shortcomings of the open meetings law and FOIL is that there is no enforcement mechanism. So if a government entity, you send a FOIL request, you request information, and they deny it or simply just don't answer to you, there's very little recourse. All you can do is file a so-called Article 78 lawsuit challenging the government. That usually means you have to retain a lawyer. That costs a lot of money and can drag on forever, and you're taking on the government. They have significant resources. One way how to do that is to basically act as your own lawyer, which means you are filing an Article 78 lawsuit. It's called pro se. That is not an easy thing to do. But Mike did that, and he won. So first of all, applause for that. That is a very hard thing to do. And maybe, Mike, maybe you can give us a little bit of an overview. Where are you from? What do you do? What led you to the coalition before we dive into the actual lawsuit?
Sure. Yeah, my name is Michael Franklin. I'm from the Syracuse area. I'm a real estate broker, but also for the past about 12 years, I've assisted people in challenging their real estate assessments. I was a state hearing officer for small claims in 6 counties for 4 years. And so I have a lot of experience in evaluation or real estate valuation. And then I challenge, people's properties taxes for them. I'm the propertytaxguy.com.
Excellent. What led you to join the coalition?
Well, I've had all kinds of issues getting public data from assessors. And one day I was on a Zoom meeting with the Committee on Open Government, and members of the coalition were on that. So that kind of led me to the coalition, and then I joined.
Excellent. And what made you stick around? Because it is a different experience for all of us. What do you like about the coalition?
Well, it's a lot of like-minded people who, my main thing is I expect our government to realize that they work for us, not the other way around. And people in this group are like-minded, and they're trying to change legislation to get these laws fixed to have them actually mean something. They're somewhat voluntary at the moment.
So you did something which is a very hard thing to do. You filed an Article 78 lawsuit, which is a lawsuit challenging a government decision, and you won. What was the lawsuit about? What led up to it? Because I assume you tried to get the information without filing a lawsuit first. Maybe you can give us a little bit of a background what led to this.
Sure. Well, I was dealing with the city of Syracuse, and I'd filed a Freedom of Information Act request for a comparable sales report and a cost report. These are reports that are run from the New York State property system, and it's a system that's owned by the people. The data is provided by the people, and they denied me, and ultimately I got a letter signed by the mayor of the city of Syracuse saying that the report did not exist. Now he's right; it doesn't exist until you take 2 minutes to run it. It's a very disingenuous response. And but as far as I'm concerned, I have a signed letter on the city of Syracuse letterhead that the mayor of Syracuse lied to me. But I contacted the Committee on Open Government, and I spoke to the the younger Kristen, and she and I had a nice conversation about this, and I thought it was going in a positive direction. So she suggested that they put together an opinion on it. Well, at that point, it was out of her hands, and they wrote an opinion that, as far as I'm concerned, was playing to the municipality. And they used a piece of case law from General Motors versus Messina for a automotive parts manufacturing facility where they're trying to get a third party consultant's data from them, and it's just a completely different set of circumstances. And the Committee on Open Government sided with that case law, and it was just, I was so angry that it was very upsetting to me. So I filed an Article 78 and thought we tried to get to the bottom of it. I was concerned that when I get to the judge, I'd get to the same thing, that the judge is probably going to side with the municipality. But he didn't. I was shocked. The city made it very complicated. So there's volumes of information. And I was very impressed that the judge sorted through it all and got to the important points.
Very impressive. Why did you decide to do this pro se, acting as your own lawyer and not just hire a lawyer?
Well, basically cost. What are you going to spend? 5, 10, 20 grand so you can get a piece of paper that you should have gotten in the first place? It's hard to justify. And I do this all the time. Every time I have a client, I probably handle 35 clients a year. I'd have to have 35 lawsuits all over the state. I've participated in assessment matters in 32 counties so far, and I'd be suing everybody in every county. So this, I thought maybe I could get some precedent going, and the coalition helped me. Anthony found a piece of case law for me called Eckel versus Nassau County. If it weren't for that case law, there's no way I would have won, because that case law trumped, because it was a recent case law and it pertained to the real property system. And it just completely blew the Committee on Open Governments in the city of Syracuse's case law out of the water. So thank you to Anthony for that. And I had some other assistance in how to do all the filings and make certain that you don't do something wrong and get the case dismissed on a technicality, because that's what they're going to do. The city of Syracuse has 20 people working in their legal department, and what they do is they use other people. They collect money from the taxpayers to pay lawyers to suppress the taxpayers, to keep them from providing the information that they are required to provide. And they don't want to be second guessed on what they're doing. And I tell you, it's a big problem, because in New York City, this is quite a while ago, they had a kickback scheme going on with their assessor for 35 years, millions and millions of dollars, the biggest municipal fraud in history at the time. And because you can't get any data, nobody knows that they're doing it. It happened at Kodak too, over in Rochester. Very big scam. And if you can't get the data, how can you figure out what it is that they're doing? And one more thing that happened in Syracuse that was hilarious. There was a high-rise building that was owned by a nonprofit, and it just sat there vacant. It's got 200 apartments in it, and Syracuse needs housing. And they gave them a tax exemption for 13 years to the tune of $70,000 a year. And they finally started charging them. And if they had done their job in the first place, there would have been 200 families with places to live 12 years ago. But they hide the information, so you can't figure out what's going on.
Excellent. So it is definitely a David against Goliath kind of scenario, right? Because you're taking on a municipality, right? And they have an entire legal department. What do you feel was your biggest obstacle? What was the biggest thing you had to overcome just to file the lawsuit?
Well, I wasn't certain of what it is that I was doing, and it's easy to make a filing error and not, do your service properly. And so you got to make certain you dot your I's and cross your T's. Unfortunately, I had some help to make certain that I didn't screw that up, because it's very easy to do. And but plus, I filed the thing, and so the lawsuit goes on. In the meantime, I don't have my data. And then it still went on past the next year. So I didn't have the data for that property for 2 years. I still don't have it. And all I have is somewhat of a precedent that I can use against them moving forward. And so So yeah, the obstacle is it was quite a bit of work, but now that I've done it once, I'll be quicker next time. So I encourage you to move forward because you learn by doing, and the first time is 10 times harder than the second time. So if they want to keep messing with me, I'm ready for them.
Good to hear that. So, tying into what you just said, what was the time frame of the entire endeavor? How long did it take you?
Um, well, I started out asking for it last January, and I just got the results of the court case a week ago Friday. This past Friday, yeah, a week ago. Yeah, yeah. And the thing is that I appreciate that the judge. What was great about this judge, because I voted for the guy. I didn't care if he was a Republican or a Democrat. He was a CPA in addition to being a lawyer. And I figure a CPA can handle business cases, and he was able to follow what was going on here. I don't know if most Supreme Court judges would know what's going on here. It's a specialty area, but he knew exactly what was going on. But why does it take all this time? It could have been done in a week. So I think our judiciary, their customer service isn't very good. They need to move a little quicker. We're paying these people a lot of money. They're paying. He's making over 200 grand. So here's what's going on. The city of Syracuse, because they can't take 2 minutes to give me my report, has to involve the judge who's making more than 200 grand. His law clerk's probably making 150. Their secretary's probably making 75. They're wasting and they're wasting all the court's time, wasting my time, and paying the lawyers for the city for what? It's insane, but they do it all the time. So somebody's got to stand up to them.
So, if I understand it correctly, though, even that you won the lawsuit, they have not given you the information you foiled yet?
I still don't have it. It was only a week ago, but they should have given it to me the next day. Of course, the decision didn't say when they had to give it to me, but to me, the data is useless to me because it was for 2022. So but what I was trying to do is set the precedent. So next time I get the stuff so I can use it for this year's tax purposes. And that's what's frustrating about it is it takes so long. Delayed justice is no justice at all. And that's what's going on. Our judiciary, they're accountable to no one. You can't foil them, and it's really it's really frustrating. They do whatever they want. He could have ruled any way he wanted. What am I going to do? I'm going to have to appeal him, and then we go to somebody else and have the same thing and take another 6 months or a year, so I can get a report that takes 2 minutes to run. It's ridiculous.
That is actually also one of the general shortcomings of the FOIL process right now, that they can just drag it out forever. I remember I had a conversation. I live in the city of Mount Vernon in Westchester, and I had a conversation with the corporation counsel in the parking lot because they're not answering FOIL requests. And he told me, like into my face, and said, you know what? We just wait as long as we can, because most of the requests become obsolete within the time frame that it takes us to respond, and then we don't have to do it anymore. Of course, for me, that is absolutely not acceptable, right? That undermines the law and the legislative intent, right, to have open and transparent government. We currently have a couple of legislations that we are actually going to go to Albany for and to advocate for. And one of them, I believe, is that there is a more defined time frame in terms of how much they can extend the original time frame to respond to FOIL requests, because often, especially for example what you are doing, there is a time frame involved. People FOIL information not just for fun, because they often need it for tangible things. Which I mean, I would be interested in. Maybe you can update me on that once because it is an interesting thing. So now, how do you enforce your lawsuit, right? Because you have I mean, I guess you could go most probably the lawsuit to the city of Syracuse and wander in there and say, here is the piece of paper, give me my documents. But it's an interesting thing how the connective tissue doesn't quite seem to be there, that it is automatically rendered, or that the lawsuit would actually stipulate that by date X, now that information has to be given.
Yeah, well, interestingly, during the case, I had filed several other FOIL requests, and they hadn't responded within the 5 days. And so I wrote a letter to the judge, and that letter caused me to get that response immediately. So, so the judge's word does mean something. But I will also say that the judge did not give me my filing fees, which were like $450. I spent another $200 on service fees or whatever it was. And I thought that I should get the cost because I substantially prevailed. Not only did I substantially prevail, but the assessor lied in an affidavit. He said that the cost, that he doesn't know of any such cost report. There is no such thing. So I provided a copy of a cost report from another municipality that I didn't have to sue to get it. He blatantly lied on an affidavit. And then, of course, I've got the letter from the mayor where he lied, and I substantially prevailed. Why should I not get at least my costs back? And to suggest that I'd like to get attorney's fees. I'm not an attorney, but obviously I just beat an attorney. So I think my time's worth more than hers because I just beat her. So why shouldn't I get her fees? The fact that I'm not a lawyer is irrelevant. I should be paid for my time. And so that's ridiculous. And I know the coalition is working on legislation to firm up whether or not you do get attorney's fees. But because there's no attorney's fees, there's no penalty to them. And but I have created a little bit of precedent, and I hope to God that they appeal me so I can get some appellate level case law. That would be really great if I got that. But I think what I have now is a good supplement to the case that Anthony gave me, the Eckel versus Nassau County. That with my own case should, in an email when I request a FOIL request, should be adequate to let them know that I mean business. And in my request, I require certification to if they didn't provide things. And so and every time I do this, I get better at it every time. And I think that they should at this point, I think they should be taking me seriously. Whereas before, like you say, they're used to people giving up. They just outweight them. They wait them out, and then they expect people to just give up. Well, I don't give up.
I think that is also one, as you said, that every time you do it, you learn a little bit more about it. And I think that is also the value of the coalition, right? That is one of the big reasons why I'm part of it, because I learned from people like you. I learned from people like Paul, our president, right? And also I learned from people who not just, who walk the walk like you do. Just to come back, so the lawsuit you just mentioned cost you about $650, just roughly, just an overview. What was the cost? Like, maybe can split that up just if people are considering to file a pro se, just so they have a rough idea what they're going to be looking.
Yeah, it's $450 for the filing fees. I think was what people need to experiment with is just Google NYS, New York State e-file, and then you can go into that. You click on guest, and you can search Michael Franklin, and bring up my case, and you can read the entire case there. But that right there, you can file the whole case right from there. You type stuff up in Word, and you upload the file, and you can do the whole thing from e-file, and you can just learn how to use it. And there's a lot of legal language that was a little hard for me to understand. But I made it, and I didn't get dismissed on a technicality. but you got to check out New York State e-file, because if you do want to hire an attorney, you can search out that attorney and read up on all the cases that attorney participated in, and see if there really are a specialist in that particular area. And I tell you, it's instead of watching YouTube all the time, maybe spend some time reading on e-file, because it's some fascinating stuff on there. And you can read another case that I was involved with where somebody sued me and I kicked their butt in state Supreme Court, the largest developer in Central New York. I beat them, and so I'm 2-0 in state Supreme Court. I'm 2-0 in small claims court, and I'm not a litigious person, but they need to give me my data.
What was somebody's asking online, what was the web address of the filing system that you just mentioned?
Just Google NYS e-file.
NYS e-file.
Yeah.
Excellent, excellent.
Then on the
Uh,
left-hand side, click on search as guest, and you can search all the cases. There'll be another option for create a file, and that's how you file a lawsuit. And you can do the whole thing on there. I never went to court. The whole thing was done through e-file, and I hired a process server to serve the papers for me. So I never went to the city hall or anything. I had somebody do that for me, make certain they do it right, and they have to fill out the affidavit. And if anybody has any questions about, again, I'm not a lawyer, but I can tell you what I did, and and I can tell you that you have to, when you do the service, they have to fill out an affidavit, and you got to file that, and there's all kinds of little things that you have to do, and I'm happy to walk folks through the case to show them exactly what I did. But it's a trial and error thing. I might have an advantage because I'm used to filing all these. I've probably done 300 SCAR cases in the 32 counties, and so I'm used to doing small claims assessment stuff. But little trial and error. It wasn't easy. It was very stressful because I was afraid I was going to make a mistake, and I don't like to lose.
how much time do you would say overall did you spend on this? Do you like just to get it? Of course, I guess you didn't most probably not count the hours, but just to get a rough idea of how time and labor intensive that was, and what did you have to spend most time on?
It was a lot of time, and because I was obsessing about it, and but like I said, now that I've done it once, I can do it more quickly. And so it was a huge amount of time. I mean, if you go into eFile and you look at it and read my memo of law, it's a lot of work went into that, and my original petition, and I have to say I'm kind of impressed with myself.
We are impressed with you. We are impressed with you.
It was
So
it was fun. It was fun to do in a semi-stressful kind of a way because it's interesting stuff, and well, it is to me. That's what's maybe that's I have a bit of a flaw in that I love this stuff, and I love small claims assessment review hearings because I love to cross-examine assessors. I love it. We get their disingenuous nonsense. We can get down to the truth. I got them one-on-one, and they don't fare too well. They don't even come up prepared, and then I bombard them with data, and I just obliterate them, and I make fools of them, and if they just comply in the first place, it wouldn't have to go so hard on them.
yeah, I just saw you in the meeting that you shared with me, and it was quite impressive. So, would you say, like in terms of the Article 78 pro se, um, let's say you would do that again, right? I assume the next time you do it, it would most probably not require as much time and effort as the first one. Is that correct?
Yeah, and the other thing is that a lot of these things require you to get them notarized, so you got to go to the bank and get the thing notarized. That's probably the biggest pain in the neck for me because I don't get around too easily. But yeah, to put the city of Syracuse, one of their assessors used the multiple listing service of somebody else's account to spy on one of my clients. So we may have another lawsuit going on. That is so unacceptable. So I'll have to anticipate how long will it take me to sue him on that one. It takes quite a bit of time. So to put it in hours, 20 would be my guess.
But most probably also because you are very experienced with small claims and filing. So it sounded like you already had quite a few tools at your disposal.
Yeah, I suppose, but also, it drags on for so long that it kind of occupies your mind a little bit, and so it just, apparently you really need to be serious about what you're doing, and you need to be right. And the reason that I win most of my assessment cases is I don't take on cases where I'm wrong. And so when you do sue them, make certain that you're right, because it's too much work to lose.
So, if I gather it correctly, you clearly did not regret doing this at all, and you would do it again, right? If you needed to.
You're damn right I would, and I'm going.
What is your advice for anybody else who may want to go down the same route?
Well, bring in the contacts that you've met over the years and to help you. Because I didn't know how to do all this stuff, and like I said, if Anthony didn't give me that piece of case law, I wasn't going anywhere with this case. And
Excellent.
very key piece of case law. I tell you, and a lot of what I did is I don't know if I should admit this here. It's a bit of plagiarism. I basically took the Eckel case and took all the concepts and reworked it into my own argument. So the arguments are in e-file. You just have to find the other cases, and there's some awfully good stuff in there, but there's definitely some original content that I provided as well that I'm pretty proud of. I put in a John F. Kennedy quote about secrecy, and I started off with that, and it's so true. They have no business hiding this stuff from the public.
Mike Franklin, you are a true rock star, and it's always a pleasure. That is one of the fun things about the coalition, that we have so many really passionate. Nobody joins the coalition, New York Coalition for Open Government, if they're not passionate about it, right? And that is what I really appreciate about the organization. What we are going to do, so we have a webpage that we're building out, especially in terms of the education section. And so what I'm actually currently working on is to have a dedicated section that advises and guides people through the process of filing a pro se Article 78. So that is in the works. I hope that is going to be up in the next week or two. Other things that we have in the pipeline is that we are going to go to Albany beginning of March. And we are going to advocate and knock on some doors with lawmakers to change some of the laws that are currently not written the right way to promote open and transparent government. For example, there's no enforcement mechanism right now for any kind of open meetings law and freedom of information law violations. It's like having a speed limit, but nobody enforces it. It is a bit of an absurd scenario. So we're going to go to Albany and advocate and see if we can get some legislators to get some of those laws changed. And if you want to have more information on the organization, you can go to nyopenGov.org. That's our website. There is tons of information on us as an organization. There's a blog. Anything that happens in that space is up there. There are media mentions, basically. What have we done? We have press releases. We release reports about open government on a regular basis. So you find a treasure trove of information on there. And last but not least, you can sign up for our newsletter on the webpage. So we distribute information. You can join our meetings. Every Thursday, we have committee meetings of committees that work on releasing reports, on drafting legislation, all that fun stuff. And if you like what you see, please consider becoming a member. That is how we thrive and survive, that we have members who join the organization and bring their experience and brain power. And yeah, that was a wonderful session. Thank you so much, Mike. I really appreciate it.
Sure, no problem.
All right. You have a nice end of rest of the day. This was fun.